Hello and welcome back. If you've been following my podcast, then you'll know that I've recently spoken with several women who call themselves trans widows. And these are women whose husbands have suddenly begun identifying as women. And they talk about that change that rippled through every part of their lives. Their marriages, their families, their children, and their sense of self. So I want to talk to you directly today if that's what you're going through. If you're listening and realising that some of what I describe is what you've been through, then I want you to know that you're not alone and there is safe, non-judgemental support out there for you. And one of the things that I've discovered is that many of the counsellors that have worked with these women have really let them down, and it's been very hard for them to find counselling that supports them and not the husband, because that's not what counselling is. You don't support the person who's not there. You support the person in front of you as a counsellor. That's what I do. One of the hardest things about being a trans widow is that so few people have even heard of that term and what it is. Society talks endlessly about trans people and their rights and their struggles and their journeys, but the women who are left behind, the wives and mothers who lose their husbands to that identity, are almost invisible. So you might have been told to be supportive and to stand by your partner, or even to rethink your own sexuality in order to accommodate their new identity. Some women have been pressurised into sexual practices that they didn't really want, like BDSM or the use of strap-ons, because the husband insists it's part of affirming his womanhood. And others experience flat-out coercion, emotional blackmail, or DARVO tactics, where he denies what he's doing, attacks you for objecting, and reverses the role of victim and offender. And that makes it seem like you're in the wrong for simply saying no. It's abuse. And yet, because he hides under the banner of gender identity, many women are left without the language to even describe it. One of the most powerful themes that has come through in my podcast interviews is the concept of ambiguous loss. So this is a form of grief where the person that you love is still physically there, they're alive, they're in your home, you might even still share a bed, but they're no longer the same person that you married. So it feels like a bereavement without a death. It's a mourning without a funeral. You can't put flowers on a grave. You can't neatly draw a line under the past. Instead, you're left in a kind of limbo. And you might ask yourself, am I a widow? Am I still married? Who am I in this story? Ambiguous loss is deeply disorienting. It can make you feel stuck, unable to move forward, but unable to go back. And it's compounded by the fact that our culture doesn't give you permission to grieve, and instead you're told to celebrate this new version of your husband, to be proud of his so-called bravery while your pain is minimised or denied. And in counselling, I work with women to name this ambiguous loss, to sit with it, and to begin finding pathways through it. Naming it is powerful, and it gives you back a sense of reality when everything else feels upside down. Another pattern I've heard again and again is how narcissism often underpins these dynamics, and many women describe their husband's transition as something that wasn't about authenticity or truth, but about control, entitlement and domination. And that's where the Cartman's drama triangle comes in, because in this model, unhealthy relationships tend to rotate between three roles. So that's the persecutor, who dominates, controls and criticises, the victim, who claims helplessness and demands rescuing, and the rescuer, who sacrifices themselves to fix or soothe others. And many trans widows find themselves shoved into the rescuer role, endlessly managing their husband's emotions, smoothing over family relationships, covering for him socially, even sacrificing their own sexual boundaries to keep the peace. But when they resist, the husband flips roles. Suddenly he's the victim, the misunderstood, marginalised, fragile woman, and you become painted as the persecutor simply for holding boundaries. And living in that cycle is exhausting. It strips women of their sense of power, safety and autonomy. Recognising this triangle in your relationship can be the first step to stepping out of it. And that's something I help women explore in counselling. One of the cruelest parts of this experience is the silence. Many women feel that they can't speak to friends, family, or even other women about what's happening. If you do, you risk being labelled transphobic or unsupportive. You might even have been told you married him for better or worse, and this is just part of the deal. Or maybe you've been pushed out of social groups, faith communities, or even counselling spaces simply for voicing what's happening to you. Isolation's one of the most dangerous things for women in crisis. It amplifies your self-doubt. It can make you question your own sanity. And that's why having a safe, confidential counselling space with someone who actually understands what trans widows go through can be life-changing. Healing doesn't mean pretending that this never happened. It doesn't mean erasing your story or minimising your pain. Healing means reclaiming yourself, your boundaries, your voice, and the truth. And some of the ways that we do that in counselling include exploring your inner child. And that is about reconnecting with the younger self inside of you who deserves safety and care. Working through the trauma response and understanding why your nervous system feels hypervigilant, on edge, or numb. Naming patterns of narcissistic abuse and coercive control so you can clearly see that this wasn't your fault. And building strategies for reclaiming joy, peace, and self-compassion in your everyday life. So if any of what I've shared today resonates with you, I want you to know this. You don't have to do this on your own. As a counsellor, I specialise in supporting women, especially those who've been left behind, silenced or erased by the transgender movement. If you are a trans widow or a mother, daughter or sister navigating this kind of ambiguous loss, I'm here to offer you a safe, confidential space where you can be heard and supported without judgment. You can find out more about my work and book a free consultation at kellyoliverdougall.co.uk. And this is your chance to take the first step towards healing, clarity and reclaiming your own life. If you found this video helpful, please share it with another woman who might need it, because together we can break the silence. Thank you for listening, and remember, you're not alone.